What was a loophole that you found and exploited the hell out of? Copied and pasted from the last time. Back in the day, 2007/2008, I found a major flaw in the point of sale at Blockbuster. Their system would update overnight, but only certain parts, and these parts were on different days of the week. Their new item prices would update on Thursday, their used prices would update on Friday, but their trade-in values would update after closing on Sunday. This meant if a game dropped in MSRP, its new version would first lower on Thursday morning, $49.99 to $19.99, and be cheaper than the used version. The next day, on Friday morning, its used version would be lowered, $47.99 to $17.99. The trade-in value would still be the same, usually $30 to $35, even though you could pull the game off the rack, buy it for $20, then trade in back without leaving the line. I did this a few times and felt bad, so I emailed corporate to let them know about the loophole. They told me they didn't take in information/suggestions from outside parties, essentially because they had that set up as part of their business strategy. I then proceeded to assist them in their endeavors by buying 25 plus copies of Beowulf from Best Buy for $9.99, $19.99 to $10 coupon, and trading them in for about $800 in store credit. Then I repurchased all 25 copies with the store credit for about $500. Then I traded them in again. Then I bought them again. I did this a few times over the weekend and ended up with $1,200 in store credit from $250 cash. Then I found a few games GameStop gave good money for and traded them in over there for store credit. I made some pre-order and eventually cancelled them and requested cash back for the deposit. I eventually got a letter from Blockbuster banning me from trading, but it had the wrong date, post dated for the next year, and I kept trading. I don't feel bad about it. This was more grinding than exploitation, but it was fun. The grocery store where I lived had a fuel card you could sign up for. If you bought certain items, you would get $0.01 or $0.02 off per gallon, sometimes more depending on the item or week. One week, they run a promotion that every one of their store generics would get $0.02 off per gallon per item. I walk by the powdered Kool-Aid packets and notice they sell a generic version of that, $10/$1 point. I do the math. My vehicle has a 16.5 gallon tank. Gas costs $3.14 per gallon. Each packet of drink mix costs $0.10. Every packet of drink mix I buy will save me $0.33 at the pump. I will need 157 packets of drink mix to get free gas. This will save me $36.11. I should do this. So, I count out 157 little individual packets of drink mix, all kinds of flavors, and go to the checkout. I try to save the guy some time by telling him how many there are in each flavor, but the manager had walked by and stopped to see what was going on with the generic Kool-Aid. So, the poor guy has to scan every single one. The manager makes an awkward joke about the amount of drink mix I'm buying, but when I pull out my fuel card, my ploy becomes clear. The cashier reads off my new fuel discount, and I'm on my way to the gas station, where I proudly fuel up my vehicle. I still had to pay $0.16. They wouldn't let you reduce the price all the way to $0. Then, I took all the generic drink mix and donated it to the local food pantry because I hate Kool-Aid. Back in college we found a loophole with coupons at Kroger for General Mills cereal. If you bought 4 boxes of cereal, each box was $1. But if you did the self-checkout, you would be printed out a coupon for $4 off your next purchase. We used the loophole to buy about 300 boxes of cereal. We only spent $12 on all of it. We would have spent less, but we had to go to another Kroger once the manager got wind of us. We kept around 20 boxes for ourselves and donated the rest to the local food bank. They were so excited when we showed up with 3 vehicles full of cereal. Totally worth the $12 and all the time it took. I think you Robin Hooded Kroger. I worked in a call center during college. Our main performance measure was the number of donations solicited per contact. If the person didn't answer or hung up immediately, it didn't count against you. I discovered a bug where, if I blew into the microphone, Just as the phone started to ring, it would register in the computer system as a no answer and dial the next number. I rode this out for several months before I got tired of blowing my microphone for 8 hours a day and quit. Building on that, we had a person working in tech support where I used to work a long time ago. There was an employee who was low on his call numbers, so management did some research. They found that he never took any inbound calls, so they started looking at call histories and found that his outbound calls were only 5 to 10 seconds long. So they started listening in on his calls. They found that he was having entire hour-long conversations about fixing various computer and internet related things with nobody. He'd make the outbound call, then hang up, and then pretend to be talking to the customer. Honestly, it sounds like more work than actually just doing work. There is something to be said for not dealing with the public. Also worked in a call center. I discovered my cubicle block was not hooked up to the call quality monitoring, so I would just answer calls, put them on hold, then call the same 1-800 number they dialed to get me, and conference call it with them. Then I would sit there silently listening to some other poor schmuck handle the call, and would drop off the call around 7 minutes, which was our preferred average handle time. Got told my call time was great by the boss a few times. My coworkers and I called it call surfing. Sometimes I would interject with words like P, just to see how confused both parties would get. Edit. One time I pretended I was a customer calling him for the same reason that my customer was, and that the system had somehow routed us to each other. We had a laugh at the company's expense, and then wished each other best luck at getting through the hellish phone service. Bought a shouty Sega Genesis game. I think it was some flight sim, which was the crappiest game I ever played. So I took it back to Kmart and got told no refunds for opened games. Replacement for the same one if broken. Annoyed that I couldn't get my money back, I said it was broken and went for the replacement. They handed me a new copy of the game and my original receipt. Left and came back an hour later. I want a refund for this game. Here is my receipt and unopened game. Got my money back, went and bought a different Shout Genesis game. Last summer, I went up to northern Michigan with a buddy of mine. He's got a nice summer cabin in a small town called Escoda. It's a nice little place, with beautiful lake beaches and other fun outdoorsy stuff, if that's your thing, but there's not an awful lot to do up there otherwise. We walked from his cabin into the town, and walked into a closing Kmart. I walked over to the electronics aisle, hoping to find some bargains on video games. Unfortunately, they only had one shouty game, Party Squad for PS4, and they had an awful lot of copies. I checked the price. They were on clearance for $14, but were marked at an additional 90% off, bringing the price down to a measly $1.40 each. I did the sensible thing that anyone else would have done, and bought 20 copies, even though I had no interest in ever playing any of them, nor did I own a PS4. Receipt for proof. After a weird look from the cashier, he removed the security labels from the games, and sent me on my merry way with a bag full of sealed games I spent under $30 for. I brought them home with me, and traded them into GameStop one by one every time I went, getting approximately $7 per copy in store credit. I traded in such a high volume of copies, I was banned from trading in games to GameStop. Fortunately, it's a system-issued temporary ban to prevent people from loading off stolen goods. I just traded in my last copy last weekend when they were doing a 50% bonus trading credit promotion and got $10 in store credit. I made something like $150 in store credit total off of $28 plus tax, and even though this pales in comparison to some of the other posts in this thread, I consider this a victory, and it makes for a funny story to tell. My college didn't put any dates on our student IDs. No graduation year, no expiration date, nothing. As a result, I kept using it to get student discounts 4 years after I graduated, mostly the 15% off J.Crew discount. Penn State fixed that by making it fall apart after a year or two, so they could charge you for a new one. I'm picturing a Mission Impossible style, self-destructing ID. Was in a trivia bowl type competition in college. As soon as the announcer began asking the question, you could buzz in and answer. If you got the question wrong, you lost no points and the question was skipped. My team answered the first question correctly and proceed to mash the buzzer for the rest of the round, effectively blocking out all the other questions. We won the round with a final score of 1 point. They changed the rules before the next round, smiley face. Edit. Thanks for my first Reddit gold. It pays to exploit loopholes after all, lol. Back when Hollywood Video was around, they would guarantee new releases to be in stock. If they rented out all of their copies in the store, then they would give you a voucher for a free rental. I was in college at the time and would go into the store near my college campus at around 10 PM on a Friday night. There was simply no way for them to have any copies left by that time, so I would collect whichever vouchers were available. Rinse, repeat. Cheaper than Redbox. What was a loophole that you found and exploited the hell out of? Please comment below. Please like this video and subscribe.